There is something you have been carrying that you have not yet named. Not a burden exactly, not a wound exactly. Something more like a knowing that sits just beneath the surface of every ordinary moment. A quiet signal in the background of your days that keeps saying, "This is not the end of the story." You have felt it. Maybe you felt it when you woke up this morning and something was different, though you couldn't say what. Maybe you felt it when you found yourself here watching this in this particular moment, on this particular day, when 1,000 other choices could have led you somewhere else entirely. But they didn't. You are here. And the fact that you are here, the fact that something in you moved toward this specific moment, is not an accident. But before we go any further, I need you to do something. I need you to stop for a moment and look at what you've been telling yourself about where you are right now. Not the story you tell other people, the real one. The one that runs underneath everything else. The one that says, "I'm behind." The one that says, "I missed something." The one that says, "The best things happen to other people, and I am always just on the edge of them, watching from a distance, almost there but never quite arriving." Look at that story. Don't rush past it, don't defend it, don't explain it. Just look at it, because that story, that specific, persistent, deeply familiar story, is exactly what we are going to watch dissolve today. Not by fixing it, not by replacing it with a better story, not by positive thinking or visualization or any technique that requires you to believe something you don't yet feel. We are going to watch it dissolve the only way anything real dissolves, by looking at it so clearly, so directly, so without flinching, that it loses its ability to operate from the shadows. And here is what I want you to understand before we go one step further. What you observe, you change, not metaphorically, not as a spiritual concept, as a measurable, documented, repeatable physical principle. The observer effect in quantum mechanics does not care about your beliefs. It does not care about your past. It does not require your permission. It simply states, the act of observation collapses possibility into form. What you watch, you change. What you refuse to watch continues to run your reality from the place you refuse to look. So today you look. And what you are about to see is this: you have not been behind. You have not been failing. You have not been missing the window. You have been in the precise, necessary quantum preparation for the chapter that is now, not someday, not eventually, but now, ready to begin. But you cannot receive that if you are still gripping the story that says otherwise. So we are going to look at the story together. We are going to see exactly how it was built, why it has been running, and what happens the moment you turn the full light of your attention on it. Because the moment you truly see what has been running your reality, it loses its power over you. That is not a promise. That is quantum mechanics. Let's begin. There is a principle in physics that changed everything we thought we knew about reality. Before quantum mechanics, science operated on a simple assumption. The universe is out there, doing its thing, and we are in here, observing it. The observer and the observed were separate. The act of looking at something had no effect on the thing being looked at. A particle exists somewhere. You measure it. You find out where it was. Your measurement did not change the particle. It only revealed it. Then quantum mechanics arrived, and it turned that entire framework inside out. Here's what the double-slit experiment actually shows. When you fire electrons at a barrier with two slits, Without observing which slit each electron passes through, the electrons behave like waves. They create an interference pattern on the screen behind the barrier. The pattern of overlapping waves, peaks and troughs, possibilities layering on top of possibilities. The electron does not take one path, it takes all paths simultaneously. It exists as a superposition of possibilities, a probability wave, a field of potential that has not yet collapsed into a specific location or a specific form. But the moment you place a measuring device at the slits, the moment you introduce observation, something extraordinary happens. The interference pattern disappears. The electrons suddenly behave like particles. They go through one slit or the other. They land in specific, predictable places. The wave of possibility collapses into a single, definite reality. The act of observation changed the behavior of the physical world, not the act of interfering with it, not the act of touching it or measuring it with a physical instrument in the crude sense. The act of knowing, the act of information entering a conscious system, the act of observation itself. Sit with that for a moment. Don't rush past what you just heard. The universe at its most fundamental level is not a collection of fixed things moving through fixed space. It is a field of probabilities that collapses into specific form when observed. Before observation, there is no definite location, no definite state, no definite reality. There is only the superposition, the shimmering field of all possible outcomes, all possible versions, all possible chapters of the story. And the observer, you, is the thing that collapses the field. Now here is where this becomes not just fascinating, but personally, specifically, urgently relevant to you in this moment. Because you have been observing your life, you have been watching it, measuring it, collapsing its probability field every single day. The question is not whether you are doing this. The question is, what have you been observing? What specific probability have you been collapsing over and over with the quality and frequency and direction of your attention? Because if you have been watching the story that says you are behind, then you have been collapsing the probability field of your life into the form that confirms behind. If you have been watching the story that says the best has passed, then you have been collapsing the field into the form that confirms past. If you have been watching the story that says you are almost there but never quite arriving, then you have been collapsing the field into the form that confirms almost. This is not your fault. This is mechanics. You were never taught this. No one showed you that the direction of your observation was the most powerful creative force in your existence. No one told you that what you watch, you change, and that you have been watching, with extraordinary consistency and intensity, the version of your story that keeps you exactly where you are. But here is what changes today. Today, you are going to watch something different. Not force something different, not manifest something different, watch something different. Because the moment you turn your observation toward the truth of where you actually are, not the story about where you are, but the actual quantum reality of your position, the field collapses differently. And the field, when you see it clearly, looks like this. You are at the beginning of the best chapter of your life, not approaching it, not preparing for it, in it, right now, in this moment, in this specific configuration of your life, with everything that has happened and everything that has not happened, with every loss and every lesson and every seemingly wrong turn. You are standing at the exact threshold that everything before this was preparing you for. The question is whether you are willing to look at that directly, because looking at it directly means letting go of the story that says otherwise. And that story, however painful it has also been familiar. It has been yours. And there is a strange comfort in a story you know, even when it hurts, because at least it is predictable. At least you know what to expect. But look closer. What you have been calling comfort is actually a cage you built from old observations, and you have the key. You have always had the key. The key is your attention. The key is where you choose to look. If what you are seeing here is landing for you, take a second and like this video and subscribe to this channel. It helps more observers find their way to this transmission, and we are just getting started. Let me show you something. There's a story about a man named Elias. Elias was a watchmaker. Not a famous one, not a wealthy one, but a precise one. A man who understood that the smallest, most invisible mechanisms were the ones that kept everything running. He had spent 40 years in a small shop on a narrow street, repairing watches that other people had broken, restoring time to the people who had lost track of it. And he was good at it, extraordinarily good. But he had always believed, quietly, persistently, with the low hum of certainty that you stop noticing because it has always been there, that he had missed his moment. He had once been close to something larger, a chance to open a second shop, to train apprentices, to build something that would outlast him, and it had not come together. The financing fell through, the partner he had chosen turned out to be unreliable, the timing was wrong. And so Elias had returned to his small shop on his narrow street and continued to repair the watches of other people, and somewhere in that returning he had decided, not in words, not in a conscious declaration, but in the quiet way that the most powerful decisions are made, that his moment had passed. For decades, that decision lived in the background of everything he did. It was in the way he answered when people asked how business was going. Fine, he would say, just fine. It was in the way he looked at the young watchmakers who came to him for advice, with a kind of wistful generosity, as if he were passing something to people who still had time because he no longer did. It was in the way he walked past opportunities that arrived at his door, not because he examined them and found them lacking, but because he had already decided in that deep background way that opportunities of that kind were no longer for him. And then one afternoon, a young woman came into his shop. Her name was Mira, and she was not there to have a watch repaired. She was there because she had heard that Elias was the finest watchmaker in the city, and she wanted to learn from him. Not just the mechanics. She wanted to understand the philosophy of it, the way a watchmaker sees time, the way someone who spends their life restoring broken mechanisms thinks about precision and patience and the relationship between the smallest part and the whole. Elias began to tell her, in the gentle, deflecting way he had perfected, that he was not really a teacher, that there were better people for her to learn from, that his methods were old-fashioned, that she would be better served by someone younger, someone more current, someone who still had the momentum she was looking for. And Mira looked at him, not with impatience, not with argument, with something more precise than either of those things. She looked at him the way a watchmaker looks at a mechanism, carefully, without judgment, with the specific intention of seeing what is actually there, rather than what she expected to find. And she said, You are describing someone who has already decided the story is over, but I'm looking at a man who has spent 40 years mastering the most precise art I have ever encountered. I am looking at someone whose hands know things that cannot be taught from a book. I am looking at a person who has been so busy mourning the chapter he didn't get to write that he has not noticed he is standing at the beginning of one that is actually better. Elias did not answer immediately. He looked down at the watch on his bench, a complex mechanism, 100 tiny parts, each one dependent on every other, each one only comprehensible in relationship to the whole. And for the first time in a very long time, he looked at his own life the way he looked at that watch. Not with the story he had been carrying, with the precision he had spent 40 years cultivating. And what he saw when he looked that clearly was not a man who had missed his moment. He saw a man who had spent 40 years becoming exactly what the next chapter required. He took Mira on as his student. Within 2 years, they had opened a school, not a shop, a school, that trained the finest watchmakers in the region. Within 5 years, the school had a waiting list. Within 10 years, the methods that Elias had developed over 4 decades of quiet, unrecognized mastery had become the foundation of a curriculum that shaped an entire generation of craftspeople. The moment had not passed. It had been building the whole time, in the background, in the quiet, accumulating precision of 40 years of work that he had been calling a consolation prize. He had been standing at the beginning of the best chapter of his life for years. He simply hadn't looked at it that way. And you have been both Elias and Mira in this story. You have been the one who carries the story that the moment has passed. And you have been the one who, in this moment, is choosing to look at what is actually there. Now watch what happens when you do. Pause here. This is not a thought exercise. This is an observation. I want you to do something right now. Not later, not after you finish watching, right now. Close your eyes if you can do so safely. If you are driving or doing something that requires your visual attention, keep your eyes open and simply direct your awareness inward. I want you to look at the story you have been carrying about where you are in your life. Not the polished version, the real one, the one that says, I'm behind, or I missed it, or other people have what I want, and I don't know how to get there, or I keep trying and it keeps not working, or I'm tired of almost. Find the specific version of that story that lives in your body. Notice where you feel it. Is it in your chest, your throat, your stomach? Don't try to change it. Don't try to release it. Don't try to breathe through it or transmute it or any technique that is really just another form of looking away. Just look at it directly with the full, unflinching quality of your attention. Notice what it feels like to be looked at, because that story, that persistent, familiar background story, has been running in the dark, in the place you don't look. And now you are looking, and something is happening. Something is shifting, not because you forced it, because you looked. Now, still looking at it, I want you to ask it a question, not out loud, just in the quiet of your awareness. Ask it, when did you start? When did the story begin? Not the content of it, not what happened, just when did I first decide that this was the story? Stay with whatever arises. Don't analyze it, just watch. Now here is what I want you to observe. The story has a beginning. It started somewhere. It was not always there. There was a version of you that existed before this story, a version that had not yet decided this particular thing about yourself and your life. That version is not gone. It is not buried, it is simply on the other side of the story. And the story is thinner than it has appeared, because stories are only as thick as the observation that maintains them. Open your eyes. What you just did, that act of looking directly at the story without trying to change it, that was an act of quantum observation. You collapsed the probability field, not into a fixed outcome yet, into clarity, and clarity is where everything begins. I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want you to answer in the comments. When you looked at that story just now, when you found where it lives in your body and asked it when it started, what did you see? What specific thing became visible the moment you stopped looking away from it? Name it. Put it into words. Because the act of naming what you have seen is itself a collapse. It makes the observation real in a way that a private, internal recognition alone cannot. Now let's go deeper into what you're actually seeing. Here's what no one tells you about the concept of a new chapter. The cultural narrative around turning points and new beginnings is almost entirely focused on the external. Something changes out there, a new job, a new relationship, a move to a new city, a health crisis that forces a reckoning, a loss that strips away what was no longer serving you, and the new chapter begins. The external event is treated as the cause. The shift in your life is treated as the effect. But look closer. The external event is not the cause. The external event is the collapse of the probability field. It is the moment when what was already shifting in the quantum layer of your reality, in the unseen, unmeasured, not yet observed dimension of your becoming, finally becomes visible in the physical world. The new chapter does not begin when the external event occurs. The new chapter begins in the observation that precedes it. Think about every significant shift you have ever experienced. Think about the moments in your life when something genuinely changed. Not just on the surface, but in the structure of your reality, in the quality of what was available to you, in the sense of who you were and what was possible. When you look back at those moments, what do you notice? Almost always there was a period before the visible change when something was shifting in you, a growing clarity, a quiet knowing, a sense that something was ending or something was beginning, or that you were no longer willing to maintain a particular story about yourself and your life. The external change came after. It came as a response to the internal observation. This is not mysticism. This is the mechanics of how observation collapses the quantum field. When you shift the quality of your attention, when you stop observing the probability that confirms the old story and begin observing the probability that reflects the new reality, the field reorganizes, not instantly in most cases, but irreversibly. Once the observation has occurred, the field cannot return to its previous configuration. Because you cannot unknow what you have seen. The moment you truly look at something, it is changed, and so are you. So when I say to you that you are about to enter the best chapter of your life, I am not offering you comfort. I am not giving you a motivational story to feel better for an hour before the old story reasserts itself. I am pointing at something that is already happening in the quantum layer of your reality. Something that has been building, accumulating, organizing itself in the unseen dimension of your becoming. And I am inviting you to observe it. Because the moment you observe it, it collapses from potential into form. The moment you see it clearly, it becomes real in the way that only observed things become real. But here is the precise thing you need to understand about why this chapter is different from the ones before it. And this is where we need to look very carefully, because this is the layer that most people miss. This is the layer underneath the one you've been looking at. Every chapter of your life has been teaching you something, not punishing you, not withholding from you, not testing you in some arbitrary cosmic sense, teaching you, specifically, precisely, with the kind of curriculum that could only be designed by a system that knows exactly what you need to become in order to receive what is coming. And here's what the previous chapters have been teaching you. They have been teaching you the difference between wanting and being ready, between hoping and knowing, between reaching for something from a place of lack and standing in a place of completeness and allowing it to arrive. Most people spend the first several chapters of their lives wanting things from a frequency of absence. I want this because I don't have it. I want this because having it will fix what feels broken. I want this because I have been told that having it means I am enough, successful, loved, safe. And the quantum field responds to that frequency with extraordinary precision. It gives you exactly what that frequency calls for: more absence, more evidence that you don't have it, more confirmation that you are reaching for something that keeps receding. Not because the universe is cruel, because the observer gets what the observer is observing. And when you observe from the frequency of I don't have this, you are observing the absence. You are collapsing the probability field into the form that confirms absent. But something happens after enough chapters of this. Something shifts. Something in you gets quiet. And in the quiet, you begin to see something you couldn't see when you were reaching. You begin to see yourself, not the self that wants things, the self that exists before and after the wanting. The self that is present when the wanting goes quiet. The self that, when you look at it directly, is not broken, not lacking, not behind, not waiting for the external arrival of something or person or circumstance to complete it. That seeing, that specific, direct, unflinching observation of the self that exists beneath the story, is the preparation for the next chapter. And you cannot fake it. You cannot think your way into it. You cannot perform it. It only happens when you have looked clearly enough for long enough at enough of the things you have been avoiding that the clarity becomes your natural state rather than an occasional visit. And here's the thing I want you to look at right now, in this moment, without flinching. The fact that you are here, watching this in this specific moment, is evidence that you have arrived at that clarity. Not fully, not permanently, but sufficiently. Something in you has done enough looking that you are now standing at the threshold of the chapter where the looking begins to pay out in the visible world. You are not here by accident. The quantum field does not produce accidents. It produces the precise collapse of probability that matches the frequency of the observer. You are here because something in you is ready to see this. Something in you called this moment into being. And that something is the part of you that has been doing the work. The invisible, unrecognized, uncelebrated work of becoming the person who is ready for what is coming. Look at that. Look directly at the fact that you have been doing the work, not the work that gets applause, not the work that produces visible results that other people can see and measure and validate. The quiet work, the work of sitting with difficulty without running from it, the work of continuing when you had every reason to stop. The work of choosing, again and again, to remain curious about your own life rather than collapsing into the story of defeat. That is not small. That is the most significant work a human being can do. And it is the exact work that prepares the quantum field for the chapter where everything you have been building in the invisible becomes visible. What we are touching on in this transmission only scratches the surface of the complete system. If you want to go deeper into the full practice of collapsing the quantum field with precision, the Quantum Watcher program lays out the entire framework in a way this video simply cannot contain. It is built for observers who are ready to move beyond the insight and into the sustained practice of watching their reality transform. You can find everything you need to know about it in the link below. Let's go deeper into what that actually means. There is a concept in quantum physics called quantum tunneling. It describes the phenomenon where a particle encountering a barrier that it classically should not be able to pass through, a barrier that, according to all the ordinary rules of physics, should be impenetrable, passes through it anyway. Not by going around it, not by breaking it down, by tunneling through it at the quantum level, exploiting the probability distribution of its wave function, appearing on the other side of the barrier without having traveled through the space in between. This happens. It is not theoretical. It is the mechanism behind nuclear fusion in stars. It is the reason your cells can conduct the biochemical reactions that keep you alive. Quantum tunneling is not a metaphor. It is a physical reality that operates at the foundation of the universe. And here's what it means for you. There are barriers in your life, circumstances, patterns, histories, limitations that you have been trying to break through by force, by pushing harder, by accumulating more resources, more credentials, more preparation, more justification for why you deserve to be on the other side. And the barrier has remained. Not because you are not strong enough, not because you are not worthy enough, but because you have been approaching it classically, in the old physics, trying to move through it in the ordinary way. But at the quantum level, the barrier is not solid. At the quantum level, the barrier is a probability distribution. And probability distributions can be tunneled through, not by force, by frequency, by the quality of your observation, by the specific way you are collapsing the field. The best chapter of your life is not on the other side of the barrier you have been trying to break through. It is available right now at the quantum level, through the tunnel that opens when you stop pushing and start seeing. When you stop observing the barrier as solid and start observing the probability that exists on the other side of it. This is not a spiritual bypass. I am not telling you to ignore the barrier or pretend it isn't there. Look at the barrier, look at it directly, see exactly what it is, and then look at what is on the other side of it with equal directness. Because the moment you hold both in clear observation simultaneously, the current reality and the possible reality, the quantum field begins to reorganize. The probability distribution shifts. The tunnel opens. And here's what the tunnel looks like in practical terms. It looks like an unexpected conversation that changes everything. It looks like a connection that arrives from a direction you weren't watching. It looks like a door opening in a wall you had decided was solid. It looks like a realization that reframes your entire history in an instant, so that what you were calling failure becomes visible as preparation, and what you were calling loss becomes visible as clearing, and what you are calling being behind becomes visible as the precise timing of a system that knows exactly what it is doing. The tunnel does not look like what you expected the breakthrough to look like. It never does. Because you were expecting the breakthrough to come through the barrier you were watching. And the quantum field, in its extraordinary precision, found a way through a part of the wall you weren't looking at. This is why the observer state is everything. Not because watching creates reality in some vague, magical sense, but because the quality and direction of your observation determines which probabilities you are collapsing and which ones you are leaving in superposition. And the probabilities you are leaving in superposition, the ones you are not observing because you are too focused on the barrier, are the ones that contain the tunnel. So look. Look everywhere. Look at what you have been not looking at. Look at the possibilities you dismissed because they didn't match the shape of what you expected. Look at the connections you haven't made. Look at the capacities you have built and not yet deployed. Look at the version of yourself that exists on the other side of the story you have been carrying and observe that version with the same directness and precision you have been applying to the barrier. Because that version, that clear, capable, ready version of you, is not a fantasy. It is a quantum probability, and it is waiting to be collapsed into form by the quality of your observation. Now let's talk about what it means to be a winner, because that word, winner, has been so thoroughly colonized by a particular cultural story that we need to look at it very carefully before we can see what it actually means. The cultural story of winning is a story of competition. There is a race. There are other runners. The winner is the one who crosses the finish line first. The winner gets the prize, the recognition, the validation, the proof that they are enough. The winner is defined in opposition to the losers, the ones who didn't make it, who weren't fast enough, who didn't want it badly enough, who simply didn't have what it takes. This story is not just limited, it is a quantum trap. Because the moment you enter the frame of competition, the moment you accept the premise that there is a race with a fixed number of winners, you have already lost something more important than any race. You have lost your position as the observer. You have become the observed. You have collapsed your own probability field into the form that says, I am in a race, and races have losers, and I might be one of them. Look closer. The quantum field does not operate in competition, it operates in resonance. It does not have a fixed number of winning outcomes. It has an infinite field of possible outcomes, each one available to the observer who collapses it with sufficient clarity and precision. There is no other runner whose victory prevents your victory. There is only the quality of your observation and the probability it collapses. A winner, in the quantum sense, is not someone who beats others. A winner is someone who has learned to observe clearly enough that they collapse the probabilities that align with their highest becoming. A winner is someone who has stopped observing the race and started observing the field. A winner is someone who has done enough looking at themselves, at their patterns, at the stories they carry, at the quantum mechanics of their own reality, that they are no longer running from something or towards something, but standing in the precise place where what they have been becoming meets what has been becoming available. That is what you are, not in the future, not when you achieve the next thing, not when the external world catches up to the internal shift that has already occurred. Right now, in this moment, you are someone who has been doing the work of looking, and the looking has brought you to the threshold of the chapter where the field collapses in your favor. You are a winner not because you beat anyone. You are a winner because you did not look away. Tell me something in the comments. Has there been a moment in your life when you looked at something directly, a pattern, a fear, a story about yourself, and the simple act of seeing it clearly dissolved its power over you? What was the specific thing that lost its grip the moment you stopped looking away from it? I want to know what you saw. Let me take you deeper into what the best chapter actually contains, because this is where the precision matters most, and this is where most people's observation gets blurry. Not because they are unwilling to see, but because they are observing through the lens of what they have been told a good life looks like, rather than through the lens of what is actually available to them. The best chapter of your life is not the chapter where everything is easy. I want you to hear that clearly. The best chapter is not the chapter without difficulty, without challenge, without the requirement to grow beyond what you currently are. The best chapter is the chapter where the difficulty is the right difficulty, where the challenges are the ones that call forth the specific capacities you have been building, where the growth required is the growth that feels like becoming rather than surviving, where the obstacles are the ones that, when you look at them clearly, you recognize as the precise problems you were born to solve. There is a profound difference between the difficulty that diminishes you and the difficulty that expands you. And the difference is not in the difficulty itself. It is in your relationship to the observation of it. When you are in a chapter that is not yours, when you are pushing against something that is not aligned with your actual nature and capacity, the difficulty feels like friction, like resistance, like a fundamental wrongness, like you are trying to force something that does not want to be forced. But when you enter the chapter that is actually yours, the one that your entire history has been preparing you for, the difficulty feels different. It feels like the weight of something real in your hands. It feels like the specific resistance of a problem that is the right size for you. It feels like being stretched rather than broken. And you can tell the difference if you look carefully, because one kind of difficulty depletes you even when you succeed at it, and the other kind energizes you even when you fail at it. The best chapter of your life is the one where the difficulty energizes you and you are standing at its threshold right now. But here's the layer underneath that. Here is the thing that the best chapter requires of you that the previous chapters did not. The previous chapters required you to become, to build, to learn, to accumulate the experiences and the wisdom and the capacity that would be needed later. The best chapter requires something different. It requires you to stop becoming and start being. It requires you to stop reaching for the next level and start inhabiting the level you have already reached. It requires you to stop waiting for permission from circumstances, from other people, from some external validation that you are ready, and start acting from the knowing that you already are. And this is the hardest observation of all. Because becoming is familiar, reaching is familiar, waiting for permission is familiar. Being simply, fully, without apology or qualification, being the person you have spent all these chapters becoming, that is the thing that most people stand at the edge of and then back away from. Not because they are not ready, because they are. And being ready is terrifying in a way that not being ready never is. When you are not ready, the story is simple. I am working toward it. I am getting there. I am building toward the moment when I will be enough, when I will have enough, when the conditions will be right enough that I can finally step fully into what I came here to do. That story is comfortable because it defers the moment of full commitment. It keeps you in the preparation phase indefinitely, which means you are never exposed to the possibility of truly showing up and finding out what happens. But when you are ready, when the preparation is complete, when the quantum field has organized itself into the configuration that makes the next chapter available, the deferral is no longer honest, and something in you knows it. Something in you knows that you are no longer in the preparation phase. Something in you knows that the waiting is no longer preparation, it is avoidance, and that knowing is uncomfortable in a very specific way. Look at that discomfort right now. If you feel it, and I suspect you do, or you would not still be here, look at it directly. Don't explain it away. Don't tell yourself you need more time or more resources or more confirmation. Just look at it. Ask it. Are you the discomfort of someone who is not ready, or are you the discomfort of someone who is ready and has not yet stepped forward? Because those two discomforts feel similar on the surface, but they are quantum mechanically different. The discomfort of not being ready is a signal that more becoming is required. The discomfort of being ready and not stepping forward is a signal that the field is waiting for the observation that collapses it into form. It is the discomfort of a probability that has been held in superposition too long. A possibility that is fully formed, fully available, fully real at the quantum level, waiting for the observer to look at it directly and allow it to become actual. The moment you look at your readiness directly, not your desired readiness, not your hoped for readiness, but your actual, built through everything you have lived readiness, the field collapses and the best chapter begins. Pause here again. This is another observation. I want you to do something precise. I want you to think of one thing, just one, that you have been waiting to do, or be, or say, or create, or offer, or step into until you felt more ready. One specific thing that you have been deferring with the story that the time is not quite right yet. Find it. Let it be specific. Don't let yourself stay vague, because vagueness is a form of not looking. Be precise. What is the specific thing? Now look at it. Look at it the way Mira looked at Elias, with the intention of seeing what is actually there rather than what the story says is there. Now ask yourself, what would I need to believe about myself to take the first step toward this right now? Not all the steps, the first one. What would I need to see about myself to make that first step possible? And now look at whether you already have that, not whether you feel certain, not whether you have eliminated all the risk, whether you already have what is actually required to begin. I suspect that when you look at it that directly, you find that you do. That the thing you have been waiting for is not something you still need to acquire. It is something you have been carrying all along and have not yet allowed yourself to fully use. That recognition, that specific direct seeing of your own readiness, is the quantum observation that collapses the probability field into the form of the next chapter. That is the moment the best chapter of your life begins. Not when the external world confirms it, right now, in this act of seeing. Now let's talk about something that almost no one in this conversation is willing to look at. And it is the thing that, if you do not look at it directly, will pull you back from the threshold even after everything we have looked at together. It is the thing that has ended more chapters before they could begin than any external obstacle ever has. It is the habit of self-betrayal through small looking away. Here's what I mean. You have been doing the work, you have been building the capacity, you have been arriving at the clarity. And then, in the small moments, in the moments that don't feel significant enough to be the moments that matter, you look away. You minimize what you have built. You qualify your knowing with doubt. You shrink the observation of your own readiness back to a manageable size so that it doesn't require you to actually step forward. And you do this not in dramatic ways. You do it in the smallest, most ordinary ways. In the way you answer when someone asks what you do and you undersell it. In the way you hesitate before sharing an idea, just long enough for the moment to pass. In the way you compare your internal experience to other people's external presentation and conclude that they have something you don't. In the way you tell yourself the story of your limitations with more conviction and detail than you tell yourself the story of your capacities. These small lookings away are not innocent. They are quantum events. Each one is a collapse of the probability field in the direction of the old story. Each one is a choice. Not a conscious choice, not a malicious choice, but a choice nonetheless to observe the version of reality that confirms not yet, not ready, not enough, and they accumulate, not into catastrophe, into a kind of quantum drift, a gradual, almost imperceptible movement away from the threshold back into the familiar territory of the almost. And you wake up one day and realize that you are further from the beginning of the best chapter than you were before. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because you looked away 1,000 times in 1,000 small moments when looking directly was available to you. I want you to look at this pattern right now, not with judgment, with the precision of the watchmaker, with the intention of seeing exactly how the mechanism works, so that you can see it clearly enough that it loses its power to operate from the shadows. Where do you look away? In what specific types of moments do you minimize, qualify, defer, shrink? What is the specific trigger, the specific type of situation or interaction or internal state that activates the small looking away? Find it, see it clearly, because the moment you see it clearly, the moment you can watch yourself doing it with the full light of your observation, it cannot operate the same way. It cannot run from the shadows when you are standing in the shadows watching it. This is not the same as eliminating the pattern. You are not trying to fix it. You are trying to see it, because what you see, you change. And what you change through seeing is changed permanently at the quantum level in a way that no amount of willpower or behavioral modification can replicate. The pattern of small looking away has been running your reality from the place you refused to look. Now you are looking, and in the light of your observation, it begins to dissolve, not into nothing, but into something you can see, which means something you can choose differently in the moment, which means something that no longer runs automatically from the background of your consciousness. That is freedom. Not the freedom of having no patterns, the freedom of seeing your patterns clearly enough that you are no longer their unconscious instrument. Let me tell you about a woman named Kale. Kale was a musician, not a famous one, but a genuine one, the kind whose music, when you heard it, made you feel seen in a way that most music does not. She had been playing and writing for years, performing in small venues, sharing her work in quiet ways, accumulating a modest but deeply loyal audience of people who felt that her music was saying something they had not been able to say themselves, and she had been on the edge of something larger for a long time. Not because the opportunities weren't arriving, they were. But every time an opportunity arrived that was larger than what she had been doing, something happened. She found a reason it wasn't quite right. The timing was off. The venue wasn't the right fit. The collaboration wasn't with the right person. The moment wasn't quite the moment. And she was not wrong about any of these things exactly. The timing was sometimes off. The venue was sometimes not the right fit. But Kyle was a precise observer. She observed herself with the same quality of attention she brought to her music, and she began to notice something. She began to notice that the reasons she found for not stepping forward were always just slightly more detailed than the reasons would need to be if they were simply true. They had a quality of being constructed, of being assembled from real elements but in a configuration that served a specific purpose, to keep her at the edge without requiring her to step off it. She sat with that observation for a long time, not trying to change it, just watching it, watching herself construct the reasons, watching the pattern of almost with the full, unflinching quality of her attention. And then one day, an opportunity arrived that was different from the others. Not larger, necessarily, not more prestigious. But it arrived in a moment when Kyle was watching herself with unusual clarity, and she saw, before the mechanism could activate, before the pattern could begin assembling its reasons, she saw herself about to look away. She saw the precise moment when the habit of self-betrayal reached for its familiar tools. And she looked directly at it. She did not fight it. She did not override it with willpower. She simply observed it with the full quality of her attention. And in the observation, she said, not to anyone else, just to herself, just in the quiet of her own awareness, I see you. I see exactly what you are doing. And I am choosing to look at what is actually here instead. She said yes to the opportunity. It was not the beginning of a fairy tale. It was the beginning of a chapter that required more of her than she had ever been required to give. There were moments of doubt and difficulty and the specific terror of being fully visible in a way she had been protecting herself from. But there were also moments of recognition, of her music reaching people in ways it had not been able to reach them from the edge, that confirmed, with the quiet certainty of things that are simply true, that she was finally in the chapter she had been preparing for. The opportunity had not changed. The music had not changed. The only thing that changed was the quality of her observation. She stopped watching the pattern and started watching the possibility, and the field collapsed accordingly. You are Kyle in this moment. You are standing at the edge of something, and the pattern is reaching for its reasons, and you are watching it. You are watching it with the full, unflinching quality of your attention. And in the watching, you are making a different choice. Now watch what happens. Here's the quantum mechanics of the new chapter in its most precise form. And I want you to follow this carefully, because this is the layer that everything else has been building toward. The quantum field is not a neutral medium. It is a responsive field. It responds to the quality, frequency, and direction of observation with extraordinary precision. And when the observation changes, and the observer shifts from watching the old story to watching the new reality, the field does not simply produce different outcomes. It reorganizes at a fundamental level. It is not like changing channels on a television. It is like changing the frequency of the transmitter. Everything that resonates with the new frequency becomes available. Everything that was maintained by the old frequency begins to dissolve. And here is what that reorganization looks like in the experience of a human life. It looks like synchronicity It looks like the arrival of people, opportunities, information, and circumstances that seem to come from nowhere but are actually the precise collapse of probabilities that were always in the field, waiting for an observer at the right frequency to collapse them into form. It looks like doors opening where there were no doors. It looks like connections appearing between things that seemed unrelated. It looks like the specific, uncanny feeling that the universe is responding to something, that reality is reorganizing around a shift that occurred not in the visible world, but in the quality of your observation. You have felt this before. Think about a time when something shifted internally, when you made a decision or arrived at a clarity, or let go of something you had been holding. And then, within a short period, the external world began to reflect that shift. Things began to arrive that matched the new internal state. Circumstances began to reorganize. People appeared who were aligned with the new direction. That was not coincidence. That was the quantum field responding to the shift in your observation. That was the probability field collapsing around the new frequency of your attention. And that is what is happening right now, in this transmission. In this specific act of looking at what you have been avoiding looking at. The field is responding, not because of anything I am doing, because of what you are doing, because you are watching. And what you watch, you change. The best chapter of your life has been in superposition, fully formed, fully real at the quantum level, fully available, waiting for the observer to collapse it into form. And the observer is you, and the collapse is happening right now. But I want to be precise about something, because precision is the only thing that serves you here. The collapse is not instantaneous in the visible world. The quantum shift precedes the physical manifestation. There is a gap, sometimes hours, sometimes days, sometimes weeks or months, between the internal observation and the external evidence. And in that gap, the old story will reassert itself. The pattern of small looking away will reach for its familiar tools. The doubt will arrive with its carefully assembled reasons, and when it does, when you are standing in the gap between the quantum shift and the visible evidence, I want you to remember this. The gap is not evidence that nothing happened. The gap is the tunnel. The gap is the quantum tunneling phenomenon in action. You are on the other side of the barrier at the quantum level. The physical world is catching up, and the only thing that can pull you back through the tunnel, the only thing that can collapse the field back into the old configuration, is looking away. So do not look away. In the gap, look closer. Look at the quantum reality that is already organized around your new observation. Look at the evidence that is already there. The small signals, the subtle shifts, the quiet confirmations that the field is responding. They are there. They are always there, in the gap, if you look with sufficient precision. This is the practice of the observer in the gap, not faith in the sense of believing without evidence. Precision in the sense of looking at the actual evidence rather than the story that says there is none. The evidence is always there. The question is whether you are looking at it or looking at the story about it. Look at the evidence. Look at the small confirmations that the field is responding. Look at the ways your life has already begun to shift, in your energy, in your clarity, in the quality of your attention, in the kinds of thoughts that arise spontaneously, in the way you are beginning to see yourself and your history and your possibilities. These are not small things. These are the quantum precursors of the visible change. These are the wave function before the collapse. These are the interference pattern that tells you the field is in motion. Watch them. Honor them. Do not minimize them because they are not yet the visible, external, undeniable evidence that the old story demands before it will release its grip. The quantum evidence is real evidence, and you are a precise enough observer to see it. Now, I want to speak to something specific. I want to speak to the part of you that has been here before, that has felt this kind of opening, this kind of clarity, this kind of sense of standing at a threshold, and then watched it fade. The part of you that has had the insight and felt the shift and experienced the genuine quantum reorganization, and then, over the days and weeks that followed, watched the old story reassert itself until the opening closed and you were back in the familiar territory of the almost. I want to look at that directly, because if we do not look at it, it will happen again. And you deserve to understand exactly why it has happened before so that you can see it coming this time and choose differently. Here is what happens in the aftermath of a genuine opening. The field reorganizes, the probability distribution shifts, the quantum precursors of the new chapter begin to appear, and then, because the physical world operates at a slower frequency than the quantum field, there is a period of apparent normalcy. The external world looks mostly the same. The circumstances are largely unchanged. The people around you have not yet noticed the shift because the shift is not yet visible to ordinary observation. And in that period of apparent normalcy, the mind, which is a pattern recognition machine which is trained to look for evidence that confirms what it already believes, looks at the unchanged external world and says, "See? Nothing changed. It was just another moment of hope. Another opening that didn't lead anywhere. Another chapter that started and then faded. You should not have gotten excited. You should not have believed. You should have known better. And if you listen to that voice, if you allow that observation to collapse the field, then it is right. Nothing will change. Not because the quantum shift didn't happen, because you looked away from it, because you allowed the voice that was watching the unchanged external world to override the precision of the observer who was watching the quantum field. This is the most critical moment. This is the moment that determines whether the best chapter of your life actually begins or remains in superposition for another cycle. And it is not a dramatic moment. It is a quiet moment. A moment that does not announce itself as the moment. A moment that looks like just another ordinary day when nothing seems to be happening, and the old story is reasserting itself with its familiar, reasonable-sounding arguments. In that moment, you must be the observer, not the one who reacts to the apparent normalcy, the one who watches the quantum field with precision, the one who looks at what is actually there, the subtle shifts, the quantum precursors, the small but real evidence of reorganization, and says quietly and with absolute certainty, "I see it. I see what is happening, and I am not looking away." That is the practice. That is the whole practice. That is the only practice that matters in the gap between the quantum shift and the visible evidence. Watch, without reacting, without requiring the external world to immediately confirm what you have seen at the quantum level, without looking away when the apparent normalcy tries to convince you that nothing is happening. Watch, and let what you watch transform in the light of your awareness. Here's what I want you to hear as we move toward the close of this transmission. And I want you to hear it not as encouragement, not as motivation, not as the kind of thing people say to make you feel better. I want you to hear it as a precise observation of what is actually true. You have survived everything that has happened to you, every difficulty, every loss, every failure, every moment when the story said this is the end, and it turned out not to be. You are here, you are watching, you are listening to a transmission about the observer effect and the quantum field and the beginning of the best chapter of your life, which means that something in you has not given up. Something in you has continued to look, even when looking was hard. Even when looking showed you things you did not want to see. Even when the looking did not immediately produce the results you were hoping for. That something, that persistent, undefeated quality of attention that has kept you looking even through the hardest chapters, is the most powerful thing about you. Not your talent, though you have talent. Not your intelligence, though you have intelligence. Not your capacity for work, or your resilience, or any of the qualities that the culture tells you to be proud of. The most powerful thing about you is the quality of your observation, the fact that you have not ultimately looked away. And that quality, that unflinching, persistent, courageous quality of looking, is exactly what the best chapter requires. Not perfection, not certainty, not the elimination of doubt or fear or the pattern of small looking away. Just the willingness to keep observing, to keep watching, to keep turning the full light of your attention on what is actually there, even when what is actually there is uncomfortable. Even when the old story is louder than the new reality, even when the gap feels longer than you can sustain. You have that quality. You have been building it through every chapter that came before this one, and it is the precise quality that collapses the quantum field to the form of everything you have been becoming. You are not behind, you are not too late, you have not missed the window. The window is not a window, it is the entire field, and the field is always open to the observer who sees clearly. You are not almost there, you are here, right now, in the precise, specific quantum reality of the best chapter of your life, which has been organizing itself in the unseen dimension of your becoming and is now. Because you have been willing to look, because you have been willing to see, because you have been willing to bring the full quality of your observation to what has been running your reality from the shadows, ready to collapse into form. Watch what happens next. Watch with the precision of someone who understands that the act of watching is the act of creating. Watch with the unflinching clarity of someone who has looked at the old story directly and seen it for what it is, a construction, a probability that was maintained by observation, a wave function that collapses differently the moment the observer changes the quality of their seeing. Watch yourself step forward. Watch yourself inhabit the readiness you have been building. Watch yourself stop deferring the full expression of what you have become and start living from it, in the small moments and the large ones, in the ordinary days and the extraordinary ones, in the gap and in the evidence and in every moment in between. Watch, and let what you watch transform. If you find yourself reacting instead of watching in the days ahead, if the noise of the day has settled and you feel the old story reaching for its familiar tools, come back to this transmission and watch it again from the beginning. And if there is someone in your life who is standing at the edge of their own best chapter, avoiding something they have not yet found the courage to look at directly, share this with them. not as a recommendation, as an act of observation on their behalf. When you share something that helped you see clearly, you give another observer permission to look, and that permission creates a field between you, a shared clarity that amplifies for both of you in a way that solitary seeing cannot. You were not meant to look alone, and neither were they. Let me offer you the final observer practice of this transmission. This one is different from the ones before it. This one is not about looking at what you have been avoiding. You have done that. This one is about looking at what is actually here. Close your eyes if you can. Take a breath, not a performed breath, just a breath. And in the breath, let yourself arrive fully in this moment. Not the moment you are hoping for, not the moment you have been preparing for. This moment, right here, right now. And in this moment, I want you to observe something. I want you to observe the fact that you are alive, not as a platitude, as a quantum reality. You are a conscious system. You are an observer. You are the thing that collapses the probability field of the universe into specific form. You are not a passive passenger in a fixed reality. You are the active, creative, fundamental force that determines which of the infinite possible realities becomes actual. And you are here, in this specific moment, with this specific history, with everything you have built, and everything you have survived, and everything you have become through the living of a life that required you to look at hard things and keep going anyway. Observe that. Observe yourself as the observer. Watch who is watching. And notice carefully, without rushing past this, that the thing watching is not the story. The thing watching is not the pattern of small looking away. The thing watching is not the habit of deferral, or the voice of the old story, or the mechanism of self-betrayal. The thing watching is something that precedes all of those things and will remain when all of those things have dissolved. That is you, the real you, the quantum observer, the consciousness that collapses the field. And that you, that specific, precise, undefeated quality of awareness, is standing at the beginning of the best chapter of your life. Open your eyes. Now watch what happens. I want to speak to the community of observers who are watching this transmission, because you are not alone in this. There is a field of observers, people who have found their way to this specific moment in this specific transmission at this specific point in their lives. And the collective quality of observation in this field is extraordinary. Something happens when observers gather. The clarity amplifies. The probability field responds not just to individual observation, but to the resonance of multiple observers looking at the same truth simultaneously. If this transmission has shown you something, if it has pointed at something you have been avoiding and helped you look at it directly, if it has revealed a layer of your reality that the previous layer was concealing, if it has confirmed something you already knew but had not yet allowed yourself to fully see, I want you to say so. Not for my benefit, for yours. Because the act of naming what you have seen is itself a quantum event. It collapses the observation into language, into the social field, into a form that is harder to look away from than a private internal recognition. Say what you saw. Be specific, not I learned something or this was helpful. What specifically did you see when you looked? What specific thing that you have been avoiding became visible in this transmission? What is the name of the story you have been carrying that you can now see clearly enough to choose differently? Type it, say it, share it with the field of observers who are here with you. Because your clarity contributes to the collective field, and the collective field contributes to your clarity. And together, the quality of observation in this community is something that individual observation alone cannot produce. And if this transmission gave someone you know the courage to look at something they have been avoiding, if there is a person in your life who is standing at the threshold of their own best chapter and has not yet been able to see it clearly, share this with them. Not as a recommendation, as an act of observation, as a way of saying, I see you standing at the threshold, and I want to give you the tool that helped me see it. You were never meant to look away, and neither were they. Here is the integration principle that I want you to carry forward from this transmission. It is simple, it is precise, and it is the only thing you need to remember when the gap arrives and the old story reasserts itself and the quantum evidence seems insufficient and the pattern of small looking away reaches for its familiar tools. What you observe, you change. What you avoid observing controls you. That is the whole principle. That is the complete practice. Every time you feel the pull to look away from your readiness, from your capacity, from the quantum reality of the best chapter that is already organizing itself around your observation, come back to this principle and choose to look. Not because looking is always comfortable, not because looking always immediately produces the evidence you are hoping for, but because looking is the only act that changes reality at the quantum level, and you are the observer. And the observer is the most powerful position in the universe, not because it controls, but because it sees clearly. And clarity is the only force that transforms without resistance. You have been the observer all along. You have been collapsing the quantum field all along. The only question has been, what have you been observing? And today you changed the answer to that question. Today you looked at the old story directly and saw it for what it is. Today you looked at your readiness directly and saw it for what it is. Today you looked at the best chapter of your life, already real, already organized, already waiting in the quantum field for the observer to collapse it into form, and you saw it. And what has been seen cannot be unseen. The field has responded. The probability distribution has shifted, the tunnel is open, and you are standing at the beginning of the chapter that everything before this was preparing you for. Not almost there, here. Not approaching, the best chapter, in it, right now, in this moment, in this specific quantum real, observer collapsed reality that you have been building through every hard chapter and every difficult observation and every moment when you chose to keep looking even when looking was the hardest thing. You are here, and you are a winner, not because you beat anyone, because you did not look away. The observer is the most powerful position in the universe, and you are the observer. Now watch what happens. Stay in the field. Stay in the clarity. Stay in the quality of observation that brought you to this threshold and will carry you through the gap and into the visible evidence of everything you have been becoming. You were never meant to look away, and you didn't. And the universe, at its most fundamental quantum level, is reorganizing around that choice right now. Watch it. And let what you watch transform in the light of your awareness. That is all. That is everything. That is the beginning.